Welcome to Season 2 of the Erotic Realm podcast, where we explore the world of eroticism, one erotic realm at a time. I'm Em, a sexologist and kinkster. The mission of the Erotic Realm is to humanize desire in all of its forms, including darker desires. Each episode, we dive deep into the psychology of desire with a sexpert, everyday kinkster, or a kink expert. This is an independent podcast. To support it, please consider becoming a paid subscriber at psychologyofdesire.com, where you'll also find deep dives into desire and surveys that you can participate in. You can also sign up there to get the podcast delivered directly to your inbox when it's released. And now for today's episode. Before we get started, I have something very excited to announce. The podcast has been nominated for the Australian Adult Industry Awards in the category of Best Podcast. So if you'd love to vote for the Erotic Realm to win this category, it would be amazing to have your support. I'll put a link to the voting website in the show notes, and I'd really appreciate it if you could give it a click and a vote, and who knows, maybe it will win Best Podcast. Thank you so much for listening and for your support. The following conversation explores power, culture, and what it really means to decolonize sex. I'm joined by King Noire, award-winning performer, master fetish trainer, musician, and creator of Royal Fetish Films, to explore the intersection of BDSM, identity, and representation. We talk about what it means to reclaim erotic expression in spaces where people of colour have historically been excluded or misrepresented, and how kink can become a site of both personal and cultural liberation. We also dive deep into music, masculinity, and the role of creativity in shaping erotic identity. This is a conversation about sex as art, activism, and truth, and what happens when people begin to reclaim it on their own terms. Enjoy. Hi everyone, and welcome to the Erotic Realm. Today we're exploring the Erotic Realm with King Noire, award-winning performer, master fetish trainer, musician, activist, and Renaissance fornicator. Welcome, King.
Thank you for having me.
Happy to have you. Let's go back to the beginning of everything for you. Before the films, the activism, the awards, who were you as a young man?
Just a kid growing up in Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Always have had a love for music. Always have had, a love for sports and athletics and film and all of that. So it's like when I look at me as a kid, I'm like, oh yeah, I put together all my interests into what I do today.
Mm. And how did you first discover the world of kink? How did you go from being that explorative kid to being the kinkster that you are now?
I've always been kinky.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of a time when I wasn't. I think it started with just pulling in things from my environment, if that makes sense. Like maybe I heard about it in a song, or I saw something alluded to in a film, or stumbled across, a parental porn stash here and there. And started seeing things. So like I remember by the time I was in high school, I was trying to record stuff. I had handcuffs, and one of my girlfriends, she had toys, and she was very exploratory with her bisexuality. I was just always a little kinky freak. And then when I turned 18, I got started in sex work, and I primarily started with cuckolding. Like I was getting booked for cuckolding things after my first dabble in like a photo shoot that I did. The photographer connected me with someone who produced films, and they were like, hey, we know husbands who want to see their wives get fucked. And then randomly was on one of those chat lines, and someone hired me to be with their wife. So I learned a lot of fetishes and kinks from amazing bottoms who are topping from the bottom.
Okay.
You know, like, this is how I like to be spanked or choked or tied up or handcuffed or this or that or the other, because I was 18 and my clientele at the time, they were 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, you know, so some people had serious experience. I had people who would hire me to come with them to sex clubs in New York City and use all kinds of devices and instruments and sex furniture and all kinds of shit like that. So that was how I got my initial education. And then from there, I started taking classes with professionals who were masters at what they do.
Amazing. It sounds like you've had quite the journey. I think I already know the answer to your next question based on that, but I'm curious to hear it from you. Do you think that we're born kinky? Is kink an inherent part of your sexuality?
I think there's levels to it. I think it's not one of those, it has to be nature or nurture. I think there's a little bit of both at play at all times. You know, like if I didn't see certain things, would I have gotten the ideas to do the shit? Maybe, maybe not. But I think the nurture part is your openness or desire to try new forms of pleasure or experience the world in different ways. You know, I definitely think that's a innate thing with some of us who are just like, I want to get all the feels. I want to see all the things, you know, and there's other people who are a little more reserved.
Yeah, I think the explorer gene is a big part of it.
Oh man, my explore gene is in every fragment of my body. I got lots of explore genes in so many different ways.
So we heard a little bit about how you were at 18. How are you today? How do you identify in terms of your sexuality and your kinky self right now?
I identify as king. You know, I enjoy pleasure and pleasing. I guess, you know, most people would like say like I'm pansexual. You know, I enjoy turning on everybody, all genders, all orientations, all sexual expressions. I am very fluid and comfortable with all the different body parts and people involved, as long as it is consensual, like enthusiastically consensual, and everybody is able to respect everybody else's limits and boundaries and respect that we all take our own time to do shit. Like I'm for all the things.
So you
And
shy
then I
away
guess I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask, so you don't like to label yourself as a particular type of kinkster because you're just into everything? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I guess on the kinkster side of things, I'm definitely a dom who doesn't need to dom everybody.
Okay.
I'm all for people who consensually want to be dominated. But I'm not out here just trying to prove a point. Like I enjoy domination and submission, even within my everyday lifestyle, but it is not a prerequisite for enjoying time with people.
Got it. So if you could explore only 3 kinks for the rest of your life, what would they be and why?
Ooh.
Hard one.
Well, I already know I am not happy without exhibitionism in my life. Like some form of it has to be involved. I get so turned on by people watching. I have a very serious oral fixation. I can't see myself living without that either. So I'm always looking to explore more things with my mouth. And see, it's tough because you're saying it's only 3.
Yep.
So if it's something I've never tried before and I explore it and I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. Like, now what? So I would say probably the other one is impact play. I
Mm.
really, I really have enjoyed it throughout my life. And there's always new instruments and tools from, you know, the intentional to the unintentional that we can bring into our life. That it's like, how did I never use a spatula in this way before? Like now I can't not use a spatula in this way. Or I remember like the joy I got from the first time I was ever able to Florentine, or the first time I ever picked up floggers. It's like that joy has not left me. So I think I would
Mm.
have to keep it as a part of me.
Mm-hmm. So I'm sure many people listening, they're hearing how explorative you are and the journey that you've been on. They're probably wondering, what does your day-to-day life look like? Can you give us an idea of what a normal week would look like for you? What you get up to?
I do not know what the word normal means. It really depends on where I am and what's like. For example, today I had a photo shoot at some, I don't even know what this place is. It's like some mansion, but has all these like fountains and gardens in here in Los Angeles and like Beverly Hills. Then I had to get back so that I could not be too late for our podcast today.
Mm-hmm.
And then later tonight, I have a recording session for my next album that I'm working on.
Amazing.
And then, and then tomorrow I have a film shoot. And the day after that, I am performing and presenting at the Trans Erotica Awards in Los Angeles. So it's like that's my days while I'm out here. But when I'm home, I am a very proud father and husband and son, and I am doing all the things that entails.
You sound like a very busy man.
Taking care of my little ones,
Mm-hmm.
living and loving with my wife, who is also my co-owner of Royal Fetish Films, and then, taking care of my mother as well.
Mm-hmm. Very busy. You mentioned Royal Fetish Films. Can you tell us about that? Because that's your own production company, right?
Yes, along with my partner, Jet Setting Jasmine, we started Royal Fetish Films in 2011. We started it because, it still rings true today, but there have been strides made. But unfortunately, as people of color, we are treated as a fetish instead of as people who also enjoy fetishes. So we wanted to make films that reflected the vast array of our desires, our passions, our pleasures, our fetishes, our kinks, and just doing it in an aesthetically pleasing way. Like we shoot on everything from phones to drones, film cameras, everything, but we like to show like the wide array of just the sexual ideas and adventures that both of us have. It has been both of us growing as sexual beings, as partners, as performers through the whole space. And, we've been blessed enough to win awards and be able to do this for over 10 years. And we also do parties and lectures and talks as well.
How amazing. Congratulations on the awards. How do you
you.
come up with the ideas for a shoot? Are you diving into your fantasies? Are you looking at what people want to see? What's the creative process like?
It really differs from scene to scene.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say, for example, you and I were going to shoot a scene. The first thing would be having our consent conversation to know what your hard limits are. It's like, so it's always good for me to know, like, what are we not shooting?
Right.
So then I know what we can kind of piece together. Okay, well, what are your desires? What are you into? Or what would you like to try? What are you comfortable with on film? And then adding in like, okay, what are the locations that we can have? So it's really like, for me, I love the creative process. And there's other times where it's just like, I would love to be able to shoot a scene in an elevator. Who do I know that would be open to that I can book to shoot a scene in a kinky scene in an elevator
Mm-hmm.
that can match my fantasy and my vision of that? So other times we get hired out by other people who are like, hey, we need this shot in this way with this type of performer. So it really just depends on that day and what that shoot is going to be.
Mm-hmm. And you
And
mentioned that
I
you've,
love it all.
yeah,
I
I
love
can
I
hear
love
that.
all the different ways of being creative and putting together a shoot.
And it sounds like you're never running out of ideas either, which is amazing because some people think that you can try everything and get to the end of trying things, but there's always more, right?
I definitely believe you don't have to ever make love, have sex, fuck the same way twice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that you've won some awards for some of the films that you've produced. So I saw they're called Orally Yours, Collared in Shadows, and Sacred Sex. Why do you think these particular scenes won these awards? What resonated?
That's a great question. I think Sacred Sex won because at the time, uh, my partner Jasmine was, I believe she was 7 months pregnant at the time.
Mm.
And she directed it. It was her concept. She said, I have been, as a pregnant woman, looking for pregnant porn to watch. And it's always disrespectful.
Mm.
It's always like somebody saying terrible things about the woman, or making it seem like she's somehow dirty or filthy
Mm.
because she's being pleased during her pregnancy, or it's like one of those none of us are the father kind of, you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
just trying to make it that way. And she was like, I want something beautiful, but it's also like we really fucking like not trying to make it seem like so delicate,
Right.
but beautiful, and showing like it is sacred to be pleased during this time of your pregnancy. So I definitely think that resonated. And then Orally Yours, which was like our first full length scene, I just think that one we had it filmed by a submissive, so it was also like this submissive was able. They're also a photographer as well, and they were able to show from the perspective of submissive really being able to worship uh amazing sex. Like I still watch that today and was like, God damn, we were going in. Like it was like some marathon, sweaty, exhausting, beautiful situation. And I think that one resonated for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how does it feel to watch yourself back in these scenes?
Well, I do the editing. So sometimes I'm watching it like, oh, I remember that felt so good in that position or something like that. And then other times I'm like, why the fuck is there an outlet so prominent in this shot? And I'm not
Mm-hmm.
even watching me fuck no more. I'm just trying to make it look as good as I can for the viewership.
Right. Mm-hmm. And you also
But
teach about, what was that?
no, I was gonna say, but as an exhibitionist, I also get into like, I wonder what people who watch this are gonna feel
Mm.
when they see it. Like if they're gonna be turned on by it, and it's the sex aspect of it and my performance in that aspect, but then also like if I directed it, if I was the director of photography, if I did the lighting and I'm doing the editing, like are they gonna feel the rhythm of this? Are they gonna feel the energy of this? Are they gonna feel like our skin is popping and the clothes and the colors we chose match the vibe that I'm trying to get them in, so that they can, if they're watching it alone or if they're watching it with a partner, get turned on and want to come along with me.
Mm-hmm. So detail oriented. I love it.
Think.
You also teach about ethical kink. What would you say are the risks or blind spots that you see in mainstream kink education that a lot of people are missing?
Mm. I think within just education in general, one of the blind spots that people run into is not everybody is coming in from the same place. Not everybody is on the same level of openness. So I think
Mm.
being able to, it's not like college where we're like, we know these people have gone through X amount of years of education in these particular fields that qualified them, and then they did a test to qualify them to get into this institution,
Right.
right? A lot of times it's just, I signed up for this class.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I signed up because I want to be here. Maybe my partner dragged me here. Maybe it was I don't know, a joke. Who knows? So I think really being able to connect and understand what brought people in can sometimes help, because a lot of times I've been to classes where people kind of move a little fast, which can throw people off, which can get people scared.
Mm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
another blind spot I think is when it comes to different races, ethnicities, and cultures, whether it be how impact shows up on different skin tones. Like some of us don't turn red, or some of us don't show bruising as easy, to make sure that we let people know, like, you can also check someone by the temperature of their body,
Mm.
like finding base points with people to understand, like, okay, your butt cheek shouldn't feel that hot.
Right.
Even if I don't see a bruise or a red mark on you because you're more melanated, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then just kind of understanding generational trauma from different cultures and backgrounds, and knowing that not everybody might want to jump straight to a bullwhip or handcuffs, or that for a lot of us, what is called race play is not a game at all. And there's
Mm.
no play about it. And being able to understand that it's not really an argument, you know, um, for some of us to be like, I don't want to be fetishized because of the color of my skin.
Mm.
That's
Yeah.
that's that's dehumanizing.
Mm-hmm.
But like, some people will argue tooth and nail that it's like, no, it's not racist to do X, Y, and Z, but
Mm. It's one of the most
that's a
controversial
really
parts of kink at the moment that I see on FetLife. People
it's a
discussing this. Mm-hmm.
serious.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's like how you said, like a blind spot.
Mm.
You know, to me, you can't play at something when people are still dying because of it,
Right. Mm-hmm.
or being denied human rights because of it. That's not play anymore.
Mm.
It's real
Mm-hmm.
shit.
Mm-hmm.
And when there is still this apartheid and caste system, it's not really play. It makes me wonder why people want to get involved in something. Like, you really don't have to. If you want to do some BDSM shit or play, you don't need to bring someone's race into it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really necessary.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There's a whole big world of kink without it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like,
Mm.
if you want to be a dom or a sub or get spanked or this, that, and the other, color of my skin really shouldn't make a difference.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Very well
But I
said.
think it still goes to the ideas, like, and I know this is a worldwide show. I will speak on the little part of the world that thinks it's the only part of the world, America, for a second.
Mm-hmm.
you know, and this rings true in other countries as well, but at least within America, with the history of chattel slavery and how that still plays a part in our society today, despite what some people try and argue. The dynamics And the reasons for a lot of the racialized fetishization is completely rooted in chattel slavery and racial violence. Like, it's not beyond understanding to know that there are big dicks, average dicks, small dicks, and micro penises in all races.
Mm-hmm.
But the fetishization of big black dicks specifically does go back to the idea that a black man can father more children based on the size of his penis to support slave breeding plantations and monetization of my ancestors' bodies.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
That's where it comes from.
Okay.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
hadn't heard
So
that
like,
before. Mm-hmm.
I would suggest to read about slave breeding plantations in America, because pretty much every sexual fetishization and stereotype about Black people in general, the negative ones and the ones that we try and pretend are positive, go back to the fact that in America, like, we know about cotton, we know about rice, we know about sugar plantations and all these things. But the number one thing that made America the richest country on the face of the earth was Black bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And in Maryland and Virginia, the primary plantations that were also owned by some of the founding fathers of this nation specialized in breeding people. It was not just about like picking tobacco, you know? So when a white person comes to me and says they want to do something racial, I'm like, why?
Does that still happen to you?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
there are people who still do the Queen of Spades and all that kind of shit and still hit me up despite everything that I say against it, which I feel like is even more so showing me that they are doing this for all the wrong reasons.
That's surprising because you speak out about it a lot from what I can see. So I'm surprised that still happens.
Yes. And that's why I say, like, if this was coming from a good place, you would respect my no.
Yep. And would know that there was a no already. Yeah.
But it has to do with ownership. Literally, the title is Queen of Spades, and a spade is a very derogatory name for a Black person.
I've never heard that term before, Queen of Spades.
If you look on FetLife, you will find it.
Really?
You will
Okay.
definitely find it. Yeah, it is. It is a thing, and it's unfortunate that people can't just move past the shit. Like, if you like Black men for, you know, our wit and intellect and ability to overcome the shit that we have been through as a people, and it's all right to be attracted to different features and different styles and all those things. But we are still individuals. You know, you can't just be like, I like Black men.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? All of us are different. We don't all hold the same views or are not all built the same way. So it does then become like, this is a fetish for you, not a person.
And is that a big part of why you created your own production company, so you weren't put into that box in the porn industry?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'd like to ask you more about your dominant self, if I can. So when you're stepping into a dominant role or you're preparing for a scene, what's happening for you on a psychological level?
I am very much a pleaser. So whether it's a DS dynamic or not, I want to make sure that the person that I am with, whether it be a private session or a film or whatever, that they are in the space they need to be in, that they are comfortable, that we have gone over everything ad nauseum to the point where they feel like they are respected and comfortable and able to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, my first thoughts are always like, how can I make sure that they are comfortable? Because to me, it's an honor to be gifted someone's submission.
Mm.
So if someone is going to give me that gift and be comfortable enough to allow me to take some measure of control, I want to make sure that everything is taken care of for them to feel as safe as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Then within my own space is paying attention to all the little things about them, from how they carry themselves to their breathing and all of these things, to make sure that I am attentive to that. So it's very much about being completely in a moment. And that's one of the things I love about it the most, is you do have to pay attention to such detail. You can't be thinking about other shit.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
It's like we might be using some instruments that are dangerous and can cause harm. So if my mind is somewhere else or my gaze is somewhere else, I'm putting them in danger, and in turn, not appreciating the gift that they've given me.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And do you experience dom space? You're talking about how you come into the moment and you're very present when you're doming someone. Do you experience the high that some people speak about?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It's
What does that
a
feel like for
beautiful
you?
act. Sometimes, I'll say more times than not, it just feels like I am nothing else exists except that moment. So it's like I could be on stage or on set or whatever, people watching, and it almost is as if they disappear.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And it's
Like you're in a
just me.
bubble.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's the perfect way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you are in this bubble, and all that matters is in this bubble. So like even within that, like the submissive's heartbeat and my heartbeat, like I could feel them.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And it's like, when you walk down the street, you have to be aware of so many things that are happening. But when you're in that bubble, you're hyper focused on everything within that bubble. So it's like, I don't know what's happening outside of this room. I don't even fucking know no more. I do know your skin is getting a little hot on your right thigh. So I'm not gonna go so hard there no more.
Mm-hmm.
Or I do know you said that you want to push past the last time you gave me your yellow. So how much are we gonna push past that? What do I think you're ready for based on everything you told me, what you ate today? How nervous you felt, all of these factors. And it's like all of them Jones. It's like, what's that meme where dude is seeing all the numbers in the
Oh,
sky and
yeah,
shit
yeah.
like that?
Uh-huh.
See, even talking about it, you got me all turned up now. Like I'm like
Well,
all
you're
in it.
welcome.
Thank you, thank you.
And what about the other side, dom drop? Is that something that you experience? I know some doms say that they really don't. Some will say it happens sometimes. Some it happens every time. Is that something that you've experienced after a scene?
Uh I'm usually really hype after a scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm like, what's next? I gotta eat.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't usually get like a drop in mood.
Mm-hmm.
If it was a very like intense scene, then definitely I'll feel a drop in like heart rate or something like that.
Mm. Okay. A drop in heart rate
Like I'm like
afterwards.
I feel like my body is slowing down now.
Mm. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. And what would you say to DOMs that are listening that may experience dom drop? How is it best to look after yourself if that is happening?
All depends on what aftercare looks like for you.
Yeah.
I definitely believe that everybody in a scene needs an aftercare. Shit, even the people watching need it. Whatever aftercare looks like for being a voyeur, you know?
Mm.
So as a dom, it's, I think, very important to have what you need for your aftercare available to you. So, like, for me, I usually am like, where am I eating after this show or after this session, right? If I'm on set for a scene doing some heavy BDSM stuff, usually I'll let them know, like, this is what I'm just gonna need for, you know, a little bit of food after, or if there's catering on set or something like that. But I
Mm-hmm.
do think it's important as a dom, if you're in a lifestyle relationship with your sub, to know basically what both of y'all will need and how you can both be there for one another for aftercare. So, some submissives I know are like, I need to eat too. So it's like, all right, well, I'll map out where we're gonna go eat after this.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you are a person who does experience a certain drop in your physicality to the point where you need to sit down and rest for a little while, do that. Don't just jump into something else right away. If
Mm-hmm.
you're somebody who experiences it more from a psychological or emotional place, then find out what it is that helps you get back to your baseline as well.
Mm-hmm. Great advice. Thank you. Now, one of the traditions on the podcast is exploring a piece of research with you. And today's research is titled Hormonal Changes and Couple Bonding in Consensual Sadomasochistic Activity. And this
Ooh.
research involved 2 studies where 58 sadomasochistic practitioners provided physiological measures of cortisol and testosterone. So these are the hormones associated with stress and dominance, respectively. And they also did psychological measures of relationship closeness before and after participating in these SM activities. And they found that rather than simply being about pain or domination, the BDSM interactions often created strong feelings of intimacy and bonding between the partners. Or in other words, the intensity of a scene can actually strengthen connection. So is this your usual experience during a BDSM scene? Do you find that you pretty much strengthen a connection between you and your sub every time you have one of these scenes?
Now, I have a lot of different scenes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have scenes with other performers for film where maybe we have never met before and our first time meeting is on camera.
Mm.
And I would definitely say, like, with that, I'm like, holy shit, we just had a whole experience together, from strangers to now, I feel like, wow, we've been through something together.
Mm.
Even though it might not be as deep as if I have someone that I'm in a lifestyle dom sub relationship with. And in those sessions, absolutely. I think anytime where you're trying something with somebody, experiencing something with somebody, especially if it's for the first time, like, it takes so much trust to do what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And I have so much respect for submissives who, like, will show up at a event and be like, hey, I have never met you before, but I want to get on this St. Andrew's cross and let you go to town on me. I'm like, that's trust,
Mm.
and I think it's one of the reasons why I try to be very transparent and open online so people can do, research on me before you show up at an event and let me spank you, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there are people who are not as forward facing out there as I am. So, being able to take that jump as a submissive, I do have a lot of respect for it. And taking that jump with somebody, you definitely get closer. You
Mm.
definitely build certain bonds with people. You build trust. Like, hey, I said, these are my hard limits, and you respected them. I said, do not touch me there. You did not touch me there. So I have more trust for you now. because you are a person of your word. You know, I think that that's a lot to be said. And that's one of the reasons that I do love Dom sub dynamics in all of its forms.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Now, music is also part of your creative world. You're a hip hop artist. I'm curious,
Yes.
how does hip hop intersect with your erotic expression?
Oh, the rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love writing altogether. So being able to write about my BDSM and sex and just worldly experiences
Mm-hmm.
and trying to also do what I do with film, with music, where it's like, I want you to hear this and get turned on.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to hear this and want to explore and try something maybe you've never tried before, because it's like, you know what? I never heard polyamory put in that way before. Or you know what? I never thought about being touched or experienced in that way. But
Mm-hmm.
I heard it in that song and that shit was a bop. So if he gonna make a bop about it, then I might have to try it. And I also think, there is, like, going back to our conversation earlier, where it was like there is a lot of generational trauma with impact and BDSM and a lot of kinky shit for my community.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to reframe it, like, this is ours too. We were speaking at an event called the Pleasureverse, and it's primarily Black folk that's there. And we were talking about decolonizing sex. And
Mm.
Jasmine and I have been lecturing on the decolonization of sex for years. And I was saying one of the things about it is this goes for everyone, everywhere. You really think that no one spanked an ass before the Marquis de Sade in human existence?
Yep.
Because I know there are a lot of people who, even within, like, white communities and European communities, that are like, the Marquis de Sade was uh, not particularly like a great character in history,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So it's like, he didn't start that shit.
No.
He was been here forever. He's
Mm-hmm.
not the first person to ever try that,
Mm-hmm.
And, within our journey, like, we've been able to travel to different parts of the world, and people talk about, you know, uh, sex toys going back thousands and thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's like, the silicone dildo or whatever isn't the first time anybody ever shoved anything inside of themselves before. Like, come
Mm-hmm.
on, give humanity some credit here. We have been experiencing pleasure in all its forms for thousands and thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
And I think being able to reframe it, like, I remember the first time I ever went to a dungeon, I was brought there by a client, and I arrived at a different time than they did. And the people were trying to turn me away at the door because I was wearing, like, jeans and Timbs or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like it was a black tie affair. People were walking in with all kinds of clothes. This was in New York City. But to them, I looked like, I guess at the time, the way they would refer to us as a thug, right?
Mm.
And, it's coded language. But I know a lot of women who like to see me naked with a pair of Timbs on. That's a fetish.
Mm-hmm.
I love to see women in fly sneakers. It's a fetish. I don't think our fetishes should be discounted just because they're not the fetishes that, everybody's like, yeah, leather and rubber or whatever, right? Denim
Mm.
is also a fetish. There's
Mm-hmm.
other materials, like maybe I have a fetish for seeing people in kente cloth or with head wraps on, but it shouldn't be discounted just because I'm from a different culture and our fetishes are different.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to add that hip hop aspect and, add that rhythm. Like, I know there's a lot of times when I've had people say like, yeah, I went to this sex club and they were playing this really scary industrial rock house music, and it didn't make me feel welcome there. It didn't make me feel comfortable. It wasn't the music I felt was sexy. So some people do like that music, and there's nothing wrong with that. But being able to also be like, yeah, y'all could play that, and y'all could also play this too. It doesn't make it any less of a dungeon. Like, you're literally still in a dungeon, regardless of what music you play.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And does your love of rhythm shape the way that you approach dominance?
It definitely approaches the way that I do impact play.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in regards to dominance, like as a musician, I guess I just move with a certain rhythm and all of that. So I would think it impacts everything I do in life.
Mm. And music can be quite divisive in the kink community, as you were just talking about. Some actually prefer no music when they're doing a scene, and others feel that it's a must. Do you feel music is a must-have when you're performing a scene?
No.
No?
Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm.
I
You like to
can do
hear the
both.
sounds?
I mean, when I shoot for certain companies, you can't even have music on because they can't
Mm-hmm.
clear the music anyway. So and they'll put the music in afterwards if there's music at all.
Mm-hmm.
I In my everyday life, I'm usually playing music at all times.
Mm-hmm.
When I do scenes, I play music. Other times I don't. Sometimes it is good to be able to just listen to someone's breathing and listen to our own rhythms that we create in ourselves. So it's kind of like whatever the vibe is works for me.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Beautiful. Now, another tradition on the podcast is exploring a quote with you. And today I want to bring in a quote from James Baldwin, who I believe is one of your favorite writers. And
Definitely.
James Baldwin was an American writer and civil rights activist who garnered acclaim for his essays, novels, plays, and poems. And his 1953 novel, Go Tell It on the Mountain, has been ranked by Time magazine as one of the top 100 English language novels, which is amazing. So in his piece, The Fire Next Time, Baldwin wrote, "Love takes off the masks that we fear we cannot live without, and know we cannot live within," which is a really powerful quote. Do you think kink is a place where people feel safe removing those masks?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It's so interesting to be able to watch people who might have just started. So as a fetish trainer, we help people discover their fetishes, discover their kinks, and then find ways for them to experience and live them safely. So a lot of times I'll get single people or couples who reach out to me like, we don't know what we into, or I don't know what I'm into.
Mm-hmm.
It's like one of those kind of things where it's like someone comes up to you as a painter and they're like, I want a painting, but I don't know what medium I want that shit in. I don't know what I want you to paint. I don't know nothing, right? Like, I don't even know if I want that shit to be on canvas or on a wall. But I do know I'm interested in art, right? So what are their masks that they're wearing? Like, you start talking to them and being like, well, what you can't not be into anything. It must be something that catch your eye, because what even brought you to me? Or what brought you to this dungeon? Or what brought you to this performance or class? And the more you talk to somebody and the more layers they peel back, they are taking off their mask for you. And usually that person will say, whatever it is, ranging, right? I know I've always been into this, or I know I saw this yesterday, and now I just want to know everything about it. And that is one of the beauties of kink, where it's like, you have to, if you're gonna do the shit, you can't half-ass it.
Mm-hmm.
No pun intended. Like, you have to allow yourself even if you're taking baby steps, like if you're like, I want to be suspended by a rope, it's not safe to try that by yourself if you've never done it before, right? So you are going to have to, at some point, humble yourself and take off a mask and go to someone who knows what they're doing. And even if that is the one person who sees you with your mask off, it's the kink that brought you to taking off that mask. And I think that's such a beautiful thing.
Me too. One of the most powerful parts of kink. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, we live in a very ugly world, and the world is like, I don't know if it's any more on fire today than it was yesterday, but it definitely is on fire today. And anything that can help somebody release some stress, find some community, express themselves, feel pleasure, feel love, feel safe in this crazy ass world, then God bless you. Do that shit.
Yep. Yes, please.
And if taking off your mask is if all you got to lose is a mask, you good.
Yep. Now, you're also a writer of poetry, and I believe you've written about Black love in the footsteps of James Baldwin. And whenever I have guests on the podcast who are writers, I always invite them to share one of their poems with us live. Would you be open to sharing the poem that you've written?
Yes.
Cool. Awesome. You need to find it?
I do. I need to. So I got to write this for Playboy, which I am that nerd motherfucker who was like, when I got to meet the people at Playboy, like, I've always wanted to write for you, like James Baldwin and Dick Gregory, you know. So they, commissioned me to write something for them. And unfortunately, tragically, George Floyd was murdered, and subsequently, everything that went off here in America was during the time of the pandemic. And besides being a performer and an artist as well, my partner, Just Setting Jasmine, also is the lead therapist and owner of Blue Pearl Therapy. And she was working next level hours with all the things that you can imagine people were going through during the pandemic and during this time after not just George Floyd's murder, but countless on-camera murders of Black folk here in America. And I wrote this for her and everyone else. So thank you. I really appreciate you asking me to read it.
Of course.
It's titled Sage. Every night I sage her from head to toe. It has become a ritual in these times. The world around us succumbing to its sins, and we stand on the front lines. Our scars map the journey like constellations, a mutual understanding. Hunted by police, scorned by politicians, and lamented by pundits. Our love is treated as an enemy of the state. Somebody kicked in the door and shot my girlfriend. Breonna Taylor woke up to 8 shots in her bed. Lovers left behind mourning for another chance to hold on to hope. Ancestors succumbed. Ancestors jumped brooms and got married in secret without keeping master's last name. Until distance do you part. Too much adoration would get us sold away to another plantation. Ripped away from children and kinfolk, forced to hide love so that they would not call the wrath of the master's jealousy. Those bodies that he coveted as property for torture and rape have visions beyond his plantation. That big house still stands in Suffolk, haunted by its mistress's brutality. The slave quarters with that collard green patch planted by the door and the smell of cornbread has long since been torn down. Unmarked graves beneath the city. This country was built on our pain. The wind blowing through tobacco, sugar, and cotton fields tells love stories in 12-bar blues. Tied to an oak tree, side by side, next to the Morsefield Bridge. After 5 years serving in the Pacific Theater of World War II, George Dorsey came home to his wife, May, and that longing for one another led to a passionate conception. Sharecroppers with bigger plans, but the GI Bill was not colorblind. Called nigger when he returned to the States in his military uniform. Freedom was a foreign idea. The Dorseys were lynched as a family, husband, wife, and child. One of those white men cut May Dorsey open to remove the unborn seed from her uterus. Those lynch mobs collected fetuses, fingers, and ears. Photographed for postcards with their children posing next to corpses burned beyond recognition. Genitalia severed and saved in jars to be lusted over as souvenirs. Covered our bodies and fear our soul. Wearing crucifixes as symbols, but what side of burning crosses were your forefathers on? Jim Crow snatched lovers from a warm embrace. COINTELPRO made sure our intimacy was no longer private. The war on Black America is the government's longest running campaign. I can't breathe. Hands up, don't shoot. Police fired 50 shots, killing Sean Bell on his wedding day, changing the reason for wearing a suit. Widowed with no wedding, until distance do you part. Our love sprints towards the drinking gourd. Inspired by revolutionary romance novels, we dream of Sundiata Kohli reuniting with Asada. Every night I sage her from head to toe. We honor our Orishas and every soul that has suffered just to love. They tell us Black love is an endangered species. Fuck you talking about? Love kept us alive. There are those who don't want to love for us, so we love each other. Fuck harder. In those moments of respite, our pain transforms into pleasure, and our fantasies of freedom become one with our moments of truth. When in bondage, all love languages translate to liberty. Sage.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. I feel like I got a whole history lesson being from Australia, and yeah, so powerful. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I definitely implore anybody who hears about any of that, like the stories that were mentioned, the things that were mentioned are historical situations, and some are not distant history. And I think the way America sells Black America to the world, whether it's our music or in film, or sometimes the negative portrayals of us is used as its justification for how we're treated here. And somehow we still find a way to love each other through all of it. And not even just each other. We still seem to find a way to love for everybody in the world, you know?
And how do you hope the listeners feel after hearing your poem?
Well, honestly, I do believe art is to be interpreted and felt by people however it hits them. I do hope, like I said, it makes people want to read up a little more, study a little more. But the overlying message is like, yo, love is the strongest thing. Just like James Baldwin told you, just like, you know, Dr. King said, like, love is stronger than hate. It's the one thing that's stronger than that.
Yep, we love love,
and we have to love through it to get through it, you know. So I hope they feel it in that way.
I'm sure they will. Beautifully said. I actually have a
Thank
couple
you.
of listener questions here for you. The first
Sure.
listener asks, what's a hard lesson you had to learn in order to become the person that you are today?
It's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think I think a lot of lessons are hard lessons.
Mm-hmm.
I am hard headed, but I do think even as a dom, as a musician, as a perfectionist who crafts all these things, like yo, man plans, God laughs.
Mm.
It is a constant lesson that no matter what, it's always important to stay light on your feet. Be adaptable. I think the best way to put it is like a blade of grass is rooted in the earth, but is able to move with the breeze.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So it's a hard lesson to learn because we want shit done the way we want shit done.
Yep.
But and it ain't always gonna be like that. And I think
Mm.
that's one of the hardest lessons I've had to not just learn, but I've had to accept it as well.
Yeah. Being humbled is something that's going to happen no matter how hard you try. Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. The second listener says, where would you suggest that someone finds inspiration if they want to become more creative in their dominance?
I like that question. That's a good question.
Mm.
When it comes to creativity, I think be open to inspiration from anywhere. Like a lot of times when we think about dominance or the world of BDSM and kink, we kind of limit ourselves to that specific sphere. I think being able to look at all things and being like, oh man, like right now I am in California and there's beautiful mountains here. I live in Florida, there's no mountains. So I'm looking at these beautiful mountains. I would like to do a BDSM shoot in the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, and how would that even work? How can we make it work? So I do think being able to just be inspired by the things around you. And then if it is specific, like within your own relationship, being able to be creative with your submissive might be, you know what, we have fallen into a certain pattern or a certain rut, or we're like doing the same thing over and over. It's not always that you need to have a new instrument or try a new fetish or kink. It can be just like, what if we did that shit on this mountain?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
You know, what if we traveled together? How would that look for us? And it doesn't have to be the most extreme. Like, it might not be like, yeah, I need to dominate you in front of all these strangers. But it might be like, how can we honor one another in our domination and submission as we move through different spaces in the world?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Because
Great
I
advice.
guarantee you'll see something new, you'll experience something different, and it'll just spark that creativity in you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm so curious to hear the answer to this one. You've had extensive experiences throughout your erotic life. When you think about a peak erotic experience from your journey in kink, what comes to mind? I'm sure there's many.
It is very hard to choose just one. So I'll do one in my personal life and I'll do one professionally. Is that cool?
Yeah, of course.
So I am very much in full connection with my wholeness. Like I am a proud hoe. And for a long time, it was something that I didn't know. It was just, I don't know, like it was frowned upon. So I didn't know if I was like, should I really lean in on this or whatever? And when I decided that I was going to start leaning in on it, I had partners I was with, and I was like, I wonder if I could just have sex nonstop, kind of like for a week. Like, obviously I did important things like eating and bathing and shit like that. But like really like clients and partners and all of this shit. And like I truly leaned into like my whole self, my whole self and my whole self.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it was a a peak for me because I had never tried this before within the sense of like, yeah, I might have done it with a partner, but not leaning into like I'm stripping, seeing clients, I'm being with my partners, I'm doing all this like nonstop in a way where I'm just completely and fully embracing it. And I know it's not one situation, but it was a time for me when I was like, I can do this. I don't need to feel bad about this. I can
Mm.
embrace who I am in a way that I feel like since I reached that particular peak, it has never stopped.
Mm-hmm.
It was like when you're training for like a marathon and you realize like, oh shit, I could finish this. Like I don't need to stop. My lungs can now do this. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm.
that was that for me. And then I would say professionally, um, I think Jasmine and I put together uh, a shoot with two other couples, and it's a scene you can go out there and watch it. It's called Marvelous Fuck Fest, and it was a gay couple, a lesbian couple, and us, and we all discussed what we would be comfortable with other people, because not everybody, like everybody was fluid, but they might have, identified in different ways. And it was like, well, I'm cool with doing this, and you could touch this, and you could fuck that, and you did it, and like in that moment, I was like, oh my god, this is like community building orgasmic shit right here,
Mm.
and it was like everybody was so comfortable with one another, and it was a beautiful scene. Like it also felt amazing. Like I have this line in a song where I was talking about Jasmine, where it's like, we could be in an orgy. I'm not saying it in a poetic way, but it's like we could be in an orgy and we're fucking and looking each other in the eye. Like I could feel you through these people.
Mm.
And they could feel us at the same time, and they feeling their partners at the same time through us. And I don't know, it was such an orgasmic experience. It was definitely like peak pleasure filmmaking, because it's like
Mm.
also at the same time it's like directing, so it's like, oh, like we gotta get this shot. I really want to get a shot of you riding and you doing this. And like I love group sex because I get to play like puzzle pieces with people and parts and shit. So it was like that. And it was incredible. And I had an
Mm.
amazing time. And it was definitely a super peak in
Mm-hmm.
all of those things.
Mm. It reminds me of the orgy scene from Sense8. Have you seen that?
Nah, what's that?
It's by the Wachowski brothers. Well, they're the Wachowski sisters now, the ones that made The Matrix.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's an incredible show. And yeah, there's a particular orgy scene in it that it sounds similar to what you're describing. They can all feel each other. They've got this certain extra sensation ability that normal humans don't have. So the orgies that they have are out of this world. And what you're describing sounds similar to that, which is really cool. Mm-hmm.
Nah, I'm so with it.
Okay, so
I need to see that now.
yeah, you should just look up the orgy scene from Sense8 if you just want to see the fun part. So their experiences from your past. What about the future? What's something that you're looking forward to exploring?
Mm. I'm like, all right. So I got two scenes that I have been wanting to do for a while, and then one I really want to explore furries.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I wanna dress up. I want to do the whole furry thing. I'm like, I remember there was this show that used to be on television. and they used to have people in these furry costumes. I was like, yo, what is happening? And they did it kind of like as a joke, but I was like, no, but I like this. And then I found out it was a real thing. So I'm very interested in that.
Do you know what you dress up as? What's your furry style?
I would either be a wolf or a panther.
Uh-huh. So a predator.
One of them two.
Yep.
Yeah. I like hunter. I'm a hunter for real.
Yeah.
And then I really want to be the center of a blow bang with some really, really beautiful trans women. And then I really want to have like a pussy eating cooking show. So those are like the
pussy eating cooking show.
two very oral things. Like I said earlier, I'm serious about my mouth. I love using my mouth.
What's a pussy eating cooking show mean? I can't imagine.
I can't give away all of it, because if somebody steals my idea, I'm gonna be so upset.
Okay.
But yeah, it's in the works right now.
Okay, I'll keep an eye out for it. Sounds fun. And finally, if you had to describe your erotic self in only one word, what would that word be and why?
Oh, I do it all the time. It's king.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason would be I am a master of my own self and destiny. And I think my crown, my kingdom is not about reigning over other people. It's about building for myself and my loved ones, and those who want to experience me. It's like, who better to treat you like a queen than a king?
Beautiful.
Who better to treat you like a king than another king, you know?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be a court jester too, you know, who better to treat you like a court jester than a king?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it's always been to carry yourself as royalty in the best sense possible. And also to be able to treat other people in the same way. Like, I'm not a person who believes like, I'm a king, so you're not. Like, no, I'm a king of my own. You're a king, you're a queen of your own.
Mm-hmm.
And how can I welcome you to my royalty and be welcomed in yours?
Well said. So where can people find out more about you and your work, King? For
sure. You can go to kingnoire.com for the safe for work kind of stuff. Links to my music. I'm available on all streaming platforms for music. So from Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, everywhere. For the other things, you can go to Royal Fetish XXX.com, King Noire XXX.com, at King Noire on OnlyFans, at The Real King Noire on Instagram, at King Noire on Twitter. But definitely Google me, probably not while you're at work.
Well, King, thank you for sharing your erotic realm with us and reminding us that sexuality is never just physical, it's political, cultural, creative, and deeply human. And it's been a real pleasure chatting to you today.
Thank you. Likewise.
Thank you again. I'm Em, and this has been the Erotic Realm Podcast. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Erotic Realm Podcast. This is an independent podcast. If you want to see more episodes made, you can support it at psychologyofdesire.com by becoming a paid subscriber and entering the realm with many other supporters. The mission of the Erotic Realm is to humanize kink and desire in all of its forms. And we can't do that without you. Until the next time, stay perverted.